Hello everyone. Welcome to our podcast from Encephalitis International, where we hear people's stories of encephalitis. I'm very thrilled and honored to be joined by Nicole from Canada. Hi, Nicole.
Hello.
How's it going? It's morning over there. How's your morning been?
My morning has just started very recently in preparation for this meeting, so I'm very I hate to say I'm very last minute, but I'm here, so that's all that matters.
Yeah, I'm in the UK, so it's like 3:30 here. So I've had all day to prepare, whereas you just started the
No,
day.
I woke up a couple hours ago, but I still just to the finish line, right? So
Mm. Well, thank you again for joining us.
no
So
problem.
yeah, without further ado, Nicole, can you tell us about your relationship with encephalitis?
So I got diagnosed with well, we call it encephalitis.
Right.
I got I got diagnosed with encephalitis when I was 20 years old. Um, uh, about to turn 21. So it was in I want to say March of 2022.
Hmm.
So I had already finished high school, but I was in university and this led to me having to drop out because I could not focus on my readings. I
Mm.
was having like slurred speech, erratic movements, and it all just kind of came to a head one day.
Hmm.
Um, and my parents were like, "Okay, you can't go to school in this condition." And at one point, like I couldn't even use utensils by myself, so there was no way I was going to go to school. Especially because university requires, I'd say, quite a high level of functioning. So, and I couldn't meet what my peers were doing. And oh, most importantly, I got diagnosed with anti-DPPX autoimmune encephalitis. So it was quite rare. So on top of that, being diagnosed, I wouldn't say young, but in my early 20s was really hard. Especially it being a rare form of encephalitis
Hmm.
was really difficult, but I was really lucky to get some of the best treatment um in Toronto at St. Michael's Hospital. So I was very grateful for that. But yeah, that's how and when I got diagnosed.
Wow. So it happened right in the middle of the university education. That must have been really
Mhm.
difficult.
It was. I dropped out for yeah, about a year. I had dropped out for a year. So
Wow.
it was heartbreaking, especially because in the midst of my battle with encephalitis, I didn't really know if I'd ever go back to school, which
Mhm.
is kind of heartbreaking. Just because I'd already put so much time into um trying to get my degree, and then to have it be taken away from me. Yeah, it really sucked.
Wow. What was your degree in, by the way?
My degree's in criminology, and I have one semester left. So
Oh,
very
wow.
grateful for that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So even though I was supposed to graduate in 2023, it's not that big of a deal. It's about a year later.
Mm.
Yeah, so I'm gonna graduate with my degree in um the end of this year.
Oh, wow. Oh, congratulations. That's incredible.
Thank thank
So
you very
so
much.
you have final exams coming up?
No, so I have midterms. So the way it works in Canada or Canadian universities is you have midterms and you have finals. So midterms happen in October, and then your finals happen in November, December.
Oh,
So
right. Okay.
yeah, so you have like segments of marks.
Right.
So
Okay.
yeah,
Oh, well, all the best with that. That sounds
thank
like
you.
you'll be pretty busy in the next few months.
Yes, yes, for sure.
Yeah. So, I mean, when when you came back to university, what was that experience like?
It was actually a lot more accommodating than I thought. I registered for accommodations, which was really instrumental in getting me the help I needed, especially because I couldn't keep up with a lot of my peers in terms of note taking. Um, I needed extra time on exams, which was provided for me, just because it took me a longer time to read and remember what I had read. So I was to say like it was scary going back to school, but then once I realized that it wasn't going to be all the work put on my shoulders by myself, it was a lot easier um to go back to school.
Wow. And your parents had like a big part to play in this as well.
Oh, for sure. My dad was really big on the paperwork side of
Mm.
things and keeping everything up to date and in order, especially with my doctors. My dad um was really big on keeping all the medical documentation along with my mom. But I'd say my dad, he's a really big numbers guy, and so he likes to keep everything very organized. So he had all that documentation ready. And my mom took care of me quite a lot when I was in the thralls of my sickness. I'd say both my parents were my primary caretakers during that time. So yeah, my parents were hugely instrumental in my recovery.
Wow. And what was your kind of experience with the doctors and the medical professionals?
Um, it was difficult at first because the type of encephalitis that I have is so rare.
Mm.
I couldn't get a diagnosis for at least the first year when I was showing signs of sickness. I
Wow.
remember I had like cuts on my skin that would not heal, and I was lethargic all the time. And the first symptom I think ever, even in high school, that I got of my sickness was incredible weight loss. I had significant weight loss, and it was just like at one point it was just like, okay, you've lost a little bit of weight, but then it was like a little bit too much weight. So when we
Mm.
went to the doctors, no doctor could kind of put a label on that. They thought it was like fluctuations of hormones or just me,
Mm.
becoming a woman. Some women lose weight, some women gain weight, but it was really difficult, especially because no one could pinpoint because my blood tests were coming back okay. Like they weren't showing any signs of anything going wrong. So it was only when I was referred to a neurologist, which was only after they saw my erratic movements, that things started kind of um progressing in
Mm.
terms of me being able to actually see doctors who knew how to deal with my condition. And when I got there, it was so smooth sailing because my neurologist was so great.
Mm.
She was super nice. I was so scared, but my neurologist really has a personality that just like kind of makes you feel like you're home. I know
Mm.
this sounds really cheesy, but I really didn't even feel like I was going into like a medical office. Just because my neurologist, she's so intelligent and so smart, she kind of made me feel safe. She knew what she was doing, and the treatment obviously worked, right? Like I'm back in school. I have a normal life now. So yeah, I would say once I got pointed towards the right doctors, everything was smooth sailing. But towards the beginning, couldn't get a thorough diagnosis. So that was extremely difficult.
Wow. I mean, I'm so grateful that you had a lovely neurologist, and
Yeah.
that it went smooth sailing from that point.
Mhm.
Um, what would you say is your kind of like biggest takeaway from this experience in general?
Mm, wow. My biggest takeaway, it sounds once again very cheesy, but in the moment when you don't think that you're gonna be able to ever live a normal life again, it really is true to live your life to the fullest or not think about tomorrow in the sense that tomorrow's not promised because my tomorrow really was not promised. I fully reverted back to like a child in the sense that I depended on everybody to get through the day. So I think that was a big thing when I recovered was not taking everything so seriously because before that I had to have everything kind of figured out in front of me. But when I was sick, I didn't even know if if I would be in the state for my entire life, right? Because I was just constantly in my head. There were a lot of symptoms I had that I probably won't go through now because I don't really know the medical terminology for them and I don't want to like say things. But I experienced so many symptoms, and one of them was being so in my head. And I just didn't even know if I would ever get out of it. So that's one thing I took from it. Um, Also, it's a sad but real thing is you learn who your friends are.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but it's also a really good thing because you find out who your friends are when you get sick.
Yeah.
And it's so true. And I heard that a lot after I got sick, and it wasn't really any consolation to me because I was really suffering in that department. But really, you find out who your friends are when you get sick. Um, and yeah, that's what I learned. But I have a great group of friends. Um, but that is something that you learn along
Yeah.
the way.
Yeah. You see people's true colors
Yeah.
and yeah. What about like your teachers? What did they were they aware of this? I mean, they must have been. I mean,
Okay, so when you drop out of university, you're like a number to your professors,
oh wow.
essentially. So, um, when I dropped out, no one really like, it's not like my professors would notice, right? Because they have hundreds of people in their class.
Mm,
When you get back to school is kind of when you have to familiarize yourself with a lot of your professors and tell them what you're going through in order to, because you could send out your accommodations to them and they'll get them and they'll approve them, but that's one thing, but it's another thing to like get to know your professor
mm,
and tell them like what you've been through, so you could have that one-on-one with them and it's more personalized instead of just sending them an accommodation plan, which is fine. A lot of students do it, but I just wanted to get that kind of, this is what I went through, and these are the barriers that I'm going to be facing in this class. And I just want you to know that if anything happens in my, um, I don't know, progress of this course, this is why. But yeah, that's what I did. So I went up to all of them because yeah, you really are just like a number, essentially, because there's so many students in that course. So yeah.
yeah, and imagine just yeah, people's exp I've been people who've been affected during school. I mean, yeah, it really depends on where you've gone to school, what kind of
Yeah,
environment is
for
there.
sure.
Yeah. Um, well, so what about like what do you think helped you the most in this journey?
What helped me the most? I think when the medication stuff started kicking in, I think that
Mm,
helped me the most. Um, my parents helped me the most. They're
mm,
the people that got me through it. Um, they're the people who drove me to my appointments, even when they were really far away. My dad did that. My mom was the one who really did the things that I could not do for myself. And that really helped me through it. But also, yeah, I really obvious, but when the medication started kicking in, I want to say something more, you know, maybe inspirational, but I don't really have anything in that sense.
yeah.
It really was when the meds started kicking in, and
Mm,
when the prednisone started working, and when the rituximab started working.
mm,
So that's what really helped me, because it's a lot. It's a long turnover process when you get the medication to when it starts to work. So when I got the medication, I was like, hey, why isn't this working? And it took more than a month for me to start seeing even the slightest bit of process, which is heartbreaking and really discouraging.
mm,
But it did end up working. It just took a long time to work. So
yeah. Oh
yeah.
wow. Yeah, and then that on top of the fact that it was, it took a while to find out what it was to diagnose
Oh
the,
yeah,
yeah.
for sure. I needed specialized blood testing to get that
Mm,
answer for me, which I wouldn't have got unless I went unless I got referred to by a neurologist who
mm,
happened to see me one day.
right.
Yeah. So it could have been a lot worse if left untreated, I think.
Mm. Yeah, one of the things we want to do, of course, is to raise awareness of encephalitis, not just with lay people, but also healthcare professionals and hopefully
Oh, for
improve.
sure. Sorry to interrupt you, but
Yeah.
some very few, but some doctors don't even know what encephalitis is,
Mm,
which is um it's it's sad, right? But well, not sad because you need to educate them. It's not sad because you can educate them and then they'll research what it is. Um, so maybe sad isn't the right word, but kind of just it makes you like more eager to let them know what it is. So that's, what I do in the off chance that a doctor does not know what it is. But most of them do, some of them don't.
mm. Yeah, and again, thank you so much for what you do. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of work to be done, and yeah, every little helps. So yeah, thank you so much. Um, I think we've gone through most of the questions.
Wow, I'm a fast talker. I'm
No, you were great. But I guess, I mean, to wrap things up with maybe last two questions. What are your kind of like future plans in life and things like that? I know you got your final, you got to finish school first.
final exams. I think it's to Man, every time this question comes up, I like break a sweat. No, I'm joking. Um, I would like to apply to law school.
Wow.
I would like to gain some experience in my field before I do so. But I do want to apply.
Hmm.
I think, and I told my neurologist this, that I would like never forgive myself if I didn't at least try to do the LSAT, which is um the law school test in Canada. So yeah, that's what I'd like to do. And in terms of my future, I just want to keep putting one foot in front of the other because 2 years ago, I didn't even think I'd be able to do that, right? Because I had
Mm.
trouble walking, trouble eating, trouble doing your day-to-day normal things, in which I thought I could never ever do again. So at that point, my future is just staying healthy. I think that's the most important thing to me is just staying healthy, and I'm very kind of almost hyper vigilant when it comes to like symptoms, or if even get the most, you know, like common symptom, I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to, which I'm trying to get over going to my neurologist for all my problems. Um, but I think that's the most important thing right now is just like staying on top of my health,
Mm.
um, and remaining healthy. I think that's the biggest thing. Before I could even do that to apply to law school, like, you need to be healthy. So that's what I want to make sure that I'm healthy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good, important priority to have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so what would you, as a final question, what would you kind of, for our listeners who might be affected by encephalitis, what would you say to them, if anything?
Well, when we started the group for the young people,
Hmm.
with Alex, I think I'd say once you've recovered to get involved, because that was a really big thing for me is when I was recovering, I felt this eagerness to kind of get encephalitis out there. So when I came across the group at Encephalitis International, I thought like there's nothing better to do what I want to do with my diagnosis than be a part of a group in which I can help people, because I didn't have that when I was sick or recovering. I didn't have those meetings to help me through it and to let me know that I wasn't the only one going through these horrible, horrible symptoms. And I
Mm.
felt so incredibly alone. So I think that would be like my advice, to people going through it, is that once you feel like you're capable of doing so, to get involved in any way revolving your diagnosis. I think that was really helpful for me. Kind of it healed some wounds, in a sense, because when you're conversing with people who are going through the same thing, it kind of makes you feel like you're not crazy, or that some of the things that you went through when you were going through your diagnosis, it kind of closes that. So yeah, I would say get involved for sure. Because
Yeah.
it's really beneficial to me. And still, even I'm almost 2 years post diagnosis and a year post recovery, and I it feels good knowing that I'm contributing, right? It does feel good.
Yeah.
It feels round circle moment.
Yeah. So yeah, get involved and remember you're not alone.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
that's a big one because it is an extremely isolating disease. It's so isolating because
Mm.
it's very rare and you can't formulate what you're going through in words sometimes.
Mm.
So you need to get involved. I believe that was really, really beneficial to me. So get involved.
Mm. Oh, I think that's a lovely note to end on. Thank you so much, Nicole, for your
Thank you
time.
very much, Prav, for having me.
And thank you to the listeners for listening or watching. This has been Encephalitis International's Stories podcast. We hope you've enjoyed it, and uh, thank you very much.